This is Sam Whitwer, and you are listening to Page Turners. They were not.
Hello everyone, my name is Brennan Moore. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. Welcome to One with the Force, presented by Page Turners. They were not. My Star Wars podcast. Big news item dropped yesterday that Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, is leaving the position of president of Lucasfilm and will return to what she has been the best at in her long career, which is producing. Dave Filoni, the man responsible for The Mandalorian, The Clone Wars, and several other entries, will become president and chief creative officer. His co-president will be a woman named Linwin Brennan, who I am not familiar with, but she has been at Lucasfilm. She has been at Lucasfilm since 1999. So, and certainly has done things like Lucasfilm Business, general manager of Lucasfilm, Industrial Light and Magic, and many, many other positions in the history of Lucasfilm. So even though I'm not familiar with Miss Brennan, I think her work speaks for itself. Now, this had been rumored for a month or so that Kathleen Kennedy would be stepping down as president of Lucasfilm, and that Filoni would be taking over. But as often happens, a lot of those rumors really you had to be careful with until the official announcements were made. So this is nearly 14 years of Kathleen Kennedy being the president of Lucasfilm. Now, before she was in that position, all you have to do is look up her producing credits. Working a lot with Steven Spielberg and many, many others. In fact, she has produced 10 films that have been nominated for Best Picture. Now, I do want to address the fact that I believe she has been unfairly criticized for about 10 years. Ever since The Last Jedi came out, the criticism against Lucasfilm, and particularly against Kathleen Kennedy, has been very strong and very unfair, I would argue. I don't want to get too deep into the negativity, but suffice to say, whenever something would come out that the loud internet fan bros didn't like, they would all blame her. But if something came out that they did like, she would not get the credit she deserved. For example, we know that a lot of people, there were a number of people who did not like The Last Jedi. And she personally got a lot of criticism for that from these individuals. On the flip side, we have Andor. And I think it's important, extremely important, to point out that without her, Andor would not have been made. And we know that a lot of these fan bros who have hated on Star Wars for 10 years love Andor with every fiber of their beings. And yet, she did not receive the praise that she deserved for producing that show. That's all I'm really going to say, is I think it was terribly unfair. And I fear that a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it, was unfortunately motivated by misogyny. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, in terms of legitimate criticism done in good faith, you know, I think as long as it's done in a spirit of good faith, then I think it's fair game. But I do believe that if we look at the Star Wars storytelling in the 13 years that she has been president of Lucasfilm, it's pretty extraordinary. Star Wars Rebels, which is my favorite Star Wars series, period. Certainly The Mandalorian, which is completely, you know, I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing Grogu on t-shirts and merchandise. I mean, it's incredible. Certainly the more than $3 billion, nearly $4 billion, brought in by the sequel trilogy, Rogue One, Andor, and so many other incredible stories that all exist because of her leadership. I am glad to see that she is not retiring. She's not done yet. She will continue to be a producer. And I believe her legacy as a producer speaks for itself. If you add it all up, she has produced 70 plus films that have earned 25 Oscars, received more than 120 nominations, and movies that have made so much money you can't even begin to count. we are looking at films she produced. E.T., Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Schindler's List, The Sixth Sense, Lincoln. So her legacy is extraordinary. Now, as far as Dave Filoni taking over, I think he's a good choice. The one interesting thing that comes to mind is that Filoni is a storyteller. He is an artist. The position of president of Lucasfilm is an executive position on the business side of things. Is Dave Filoni suited to that kind of role? I think yes, but only time will tell. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he asked me if somebody like Tony Gilroy came to Dave Filoni and said, I've got an idea for a show or a movie that's a little bit out of the box for Star Wars. Kind of like how Andor was a little bit out of the box. Would Dave Filoni have the vision to say, yes, I like that idea, let's do that? I mean, if you really think about what Andor is, that was a huge gamble for Lucasfilm. To say, we're going to make a prequel to a prequel that is not going to involve lightsabers or the Force or the Sith or any of that stuff. And we're going to make it grounded and gritty and thriller and, quite frankly, no fun to watch at all. That's a huge gamble. But Kathleen Kennedy had the foresight to say, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it. In fact, I think it's Tony Gilroy himself has said just how open Kennedy was to the idea and going, sounds great, what do you need, let's make this work. The question then is, can Dave Filoni do that as well? Would he have the vision to be willing to explore something different? Now, I'm not saying we need another Andor. I think one is enough. But I would hope, and I think that Dave would really be open to new and interesting stories. Yet again, time will tell. But this is big news. As I said, it is no longer a rumor. It is reality. I just want to say in closing, thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for all you've done for Star Wars. This new era of Star Wars, with its highs and lows, I think has had more success than failure. and has given us some of the best Star Wars storytelling outside of the original trilogy. And I am so glad that she was chosen by George Lucas himself to lead Lucasfilm. What the future is going to hold for Star Wars, I don't know, but I have faith that Dave knows what he's doing and can lead us to even more incredible storytelling in this galaxy far, far away. Those are my thoughts. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. Let me know what you think. Thank you for tuning in to One with the Force. Presented by Page Turners They Were Not. My Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.